So I wanted to make a video about macronutrients, and essentially what macronutrients are fuel for your body. So think of, if your body's a car, macronutrients are the gas that you put into your car. And the nice thing about macronutrients is there are only 3 types of macronutrients, so it's really easy to, at least that part of it's easy. And the 3 types are carbs, protein, and fats. So you may be aware that there's a lot of debate going on about what's the best ratio of macronutrients to eat. For example, a keto diet is high fat, low carb, and if you're for example, vegetarian, you probably eat a more high carb diet, like low fat, lower protein. And so there's sort of a debate going on, but I just wanted to make a video just explain to you what I do, what I've found is the best for my body, and some of the ramifications, say if I eat too many carbohydrates and what happens to me. So basically, carbs are fruits, vegetables, grains, sugars, legumes, and dairy. And one caveat of this is basically any food you eat is going to have more than one macronutrient in it. So for example, dairy is under carbs, but dairy is also under fats. But there's a lot of fat in dairy, and a lot of like low fat yogurt, the fat is taken out, so then it's more a high carb meal. But there's also protein in yogurt and milk as well, so that's what's complicated about it. But for the most part, carbs are fruits, vegetables, sugars, legumes. You think of pasta is basically strictly carbs. The next thing is protein. So protein is found a lot in meats, fish, eggs, nuts. There's protein in broccoli, but it's just small amounts. So these are the big food groups that it's in. And then for fats, it's like oils. So coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, those are all sources of fat. There's full fat dairy, meat, a lot of meat has fat in it, especially like bacon. Bacon's a very high fat meat. And so is like fish, like oily fish, such as salmon. So some nuts, macadamia nuts have a ton of fat in them and are low carbs. Some other nuts like, they're legumes, but cashews have very high carbs, lower fat, and then avocado is a very high fat food. And so are eggs. Eggs can go into, they have a lot of fat as well, but they also have a decent amount of protein. So, but basically throughout your day, you eat a certain ratio of these, and most people eat a very high ratio of carbohydrates and lower fats. But what I found is that when I eat more fat, I can make it longer through the day without being hungry. And I'm going to show you here in a second a chart, blood sugar chart that illustrates sort of the energy trajectory of each macronutrient and why eating a high fat diet leaves you feeling fuller, longer, with more energy. So I'll get into it next, but to test blood sugar, so diabetics use what's called a glucometer, and I bought my own glucometer so I could test my blood sugar and just see the graph that I'm about to draw in real life. But yeah, it's just super interesting to test blood sugar. But if you're interested in how a food impacts your blood sugar, you can just look up the glycemic index of that food. And so the higher the glycemic index, the quicker the food is going to be converted into blood sugar, and then the more rapidly it will basically just have like a quick bump in your system and then go down. So you can find all that online, but I just wanted to give you an overview of this, and now I'm going to show you what each food does blood sugar wise. Alright, so say I eat a big plate of pasta. This is what's going to happen to my blood sugar. So fasting blood sugar of 80, I eat pasta. Pasta is a refined carbohydrate, so it's very quickly converted into glucose, and then what happens is all that sugar, glucose, is flowing through your bloodstream, and your pancreas, I believe, releases insulin to reduce the amount of blood sugar in your bloodstream. And so what happens is you eat it very quickly, it jacks up your blood sugar, and then that insulin's released, and since your blood sugar is so high, your pancreas releases a lot of insulin, and then very quickly, bam, you're brought down to a very low blood sugar. And this is generally within 2 hours of eating a simple carbohydrate, this cycle will have happened. Now what happens when you get above a certain level, right? Like, how do you feel? And this is really the crux of macronutrients, because for me, I've noticed around 130, so like 130 blood sugar level, if I get above that, what happens is I get really mentally foggy and I can't really focus. So I don't like being above that level, because it's just like I'm foggy, I can't think clearly, and it's just not a good productive way to be. And a lot of people know of like the post-lunch crash, and this is essentially what it is that you eat a high carb, high sugar lunch, your blood sugar spikes, and then, you know, you have that like, you can't really focus at work, you're like, nah, I don't know, not really productive, and then you crash and you just want to take a nap. And for me, I notice too, when I crash, it's like I get tired, I just want to like nap, but also I get moody. And that's another thing that has really been big for me with macronutrients, is understanding that carbs, if I eat too much of them, I get mentally foggy, and when I crash, I get moody. And I can also get like anxious and depressed from that. So that is a big thing to note. I want to minimize this blood sugar roller coaster that I'm on. So here are the other two macronutrients. So this is carbs. This is protein. So protein has about whereas carbs have a 2-hour, life cycle pretty much. Protein lasts as an energy source for, 4 to 5 hours, 4 to 6 hours, somewhere in there. But it's a more stable, like, it's not as high of a glucose response, so your insulin doesn't go as high, and it's just more of a stable energy arc. So protein is a good fuel source. It's can be better than carbs, but you don't want to eat too much protein, because I can't remember the reason why, but there's a reason why you don't want to eat too much protein. But optimally, so this is what I've been working on recently, is eating a more high-fat diet, and that's very popular right now with, you've heard of the keto diet, which is a very high-fat, moderate protein, low-carb diet. And the reason that it's low carbs is because your body prefers using carbohydrates as fuel, because it's just easier. To use fat as fuel, it has to go through this like process where your liver converts the fat into, I forget what it's called, but anyway, so it has to go through this biological process before it can be used by your cells as fuel. But it is more efficient, or it's less efficient, but it lasts longer as an energy source. So here's the fat. So fat as an energy source has a very minimal impact on your blood glucose levels, but it also lasts a very long time. So it can last between 6, 8, 10 hours. I've seen different things online, but if you're eating a higher fat diet, you'll be able to go longer between meals without getting hungry. So if you're, have to eat constantly to maintain energy, or if you get, you feel that crash and you feel like you need an energy burst, you need some like coffee or some sweets or something, you're likely on a blood sugar roller coaster. And ideally, you just will feel so much better if you're on this stable energy trajectory where your energy levels are very stable throughout the day. So for me, now that I eat a more high-fat diet, basically I have less moodiness, I have less ups and downs throughout the day. I have less anxiety, which is huge. My moods are just better, it's just stable. Things don't bother me as much. And I can just go a long time without eating, and it's not a big deal because my body still has fuel versus when it's used to this. There's not so much fuel. But anyway, yeah, I'll make more videos on like what specifically I eat, but it took me a long time to find this, and I think this is just like such a good illustration of why it's important to eat a higher fat diet. And there's a lot of ways to do it, and you can make it really tasty. So I'll make more content around that. But honestly, I probably said some shit in here which is not like technically true, but I just wanted to make this because a lot of the stuff out there is so complicated. It's like I've been studying it for years and I still don't really understand it. It's like you have to be a chemist or a biologist to like understand these processes, and it's like sometimes it's just nice to have like the dummies guide to it. So this essentially is the dummies guide, and if I have any factual inaccuracies, I apologize for that. But anyway, yep, so hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or anything you want to see. Let me know, because I'm definitely at the point with nutrition where I feel like I'm 80% there. It's like there's another 20% for me to go, but for the most part I feel great, and nutrition really isn't a part of my life holding me back anymore, which is awesome. So I feel good, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm energetic, and I can go on to the next levels of life where I, work on other things that make me uncomfortable. So I'm happy to help you with this if you have any questions, and hope that helped. Thanks for watching.